So there's around 27, 28 questions on the form. What I'm finding is that every time I come, there's questions that are added. So I'll start with the questions that are added, just for the fact that mostly whoever's here, there's not many people here, but those who are here probably added those questions and want to hear the answers, or else I think that's what kind of killed this whole thing this year, is that they put questions in because I had a lot of questions to answer. I started with the beginning. The person who put his question didn't get an answer because it didn't come yet, didn't come next time, and then just kind of got out of hand from there. So I'll start with the question at the end of the list, and I'll work my way back. So if nothing's asked in addition, then I'll just keep on going backwards. And if something is new is posted, then I'll answer that, inshallah, just so that it's a bit more interactive. So the first question, or the last question on the list, the latest one. What do you think about all the talk of Freemasonry and the secret government that conspires to destroy Islam? All right. So in English it's Freemasonry, but in Arabic it's called Masuni. And you haven't heard you haven't heard nothing here. Like you go live in the Middle East and bring that word up, and then you'll know. This is I don't know much about it. You can read about the Freemasonry and the concept of that they exist and they puppet all the governments of the world and yada yada. We don't really have that much evidence to prove any of it, and it's just it's an endless and useless conversation that will go on forever and ever, whether it's there or whether it's not. I don't see the point of us really talking about it. However, from Islamic point of view, or from an Islamic perspective, do we believe that there's a conspiracy against Islam from the beginning of Islam's development until today, or do we not? So which is it? Is everyone around the Muslim world conspiring against Islam, or there are like many enemies that are trying to destroy Islam? So it depends on who you talk to, really. There's a very strong conspiracy theory support that comes from the Muslim world today, and I'll tell you why. Because if you have the idea that everyone around you is working to destroy you, then that means you can't do anything about it. And if you can't do anything about it, then you can just sit around and play cards with your friends for the rest of your life, and there's no feel of shame or guilt, or don't feel bad about it, because there was nothing you could do to begin with. Why? Because it was a conspiracy. Everyone was against you. You can't fix it, and that's what a lot of Muslims, or most Muslims around the world, feel or think, that it's a combination of America and the 99 nations, Iran and Israel, and the Freemasonry, and it's all the shayateen and the jinn and whoever, everyone together just working against poor little old me and you, and it's not going to happen. So just fit yibni, just keep the deck moving and just kind of sit around and do nothing. And that's where the problem of this conversation, this argument falls. I'm not going to sit down and talk about the Freemasonry. It's a waste of time, because really that's not the point. The problem is the mentality of passivity, of us accepting that we can be passive, that there's nothing that we can do, that we're not required to do anything, that there's no hope. Now, if you understand the Quran, you know that there's always hope. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has never asked you at any point to, He's not going to hold you accountable based on results. He's going to hold you accountable based on effort and proper planning. Meaning you have to fulfill your role. You have to do your job. You have to fulfill your purpose in the best ways that you can. If you're in a really, really bad situation, that means it's going to just require more work, more focus, more planning, and more effort. That's all there is. But you're not allowed at any point to say, well, the conspiracy is so large and so big and so massive that I can't do anything about it. I'm going to sit around and just whine. If they are conspiring, and they probably are, like if you have an enemy, what do you expect from your enemy? To plan for you? Of course he's going to plan to destroy you. If you're not trying to protect yourself, then you're going to lose. That's normal. It's fair play. Everyone knows if I'm your enemy from a theological, ideological, or even military point of view, political point of view, then I'm going to be trying to weaken your stance, and I'm trying to strengthen my own. And if you're going to sit around and say, well, he was conspired against me, well, are you surprised by that? Weren't you around? Didn't you know that was going to happen anyway? Weren't you prepared for it? I mean, that doesn't work. That's not an excuse that is ever acceptable by anyone. The problem with the conspiracy theory mentality is that it's based on passivity. Based on there's nothing for me to do. And it turns the world into two camps where one and everyone else is your enemy. And that's not how we're supposed to view the world, and that's not how we're supposed to view our role in it either. So the whole way of thought is flawed, and it's wrong by default. Whether there are people who are conspiring against us or not, that's not the point. for us to sit around and use that as an excuse for us not to do our job, not to fulfill our purpose, not to continue to plan and to work together and to find solutions for problems, that this doesn't work. And I think the fact that we don't really know whether they are or not is a good enough example. If you don't know if people are conspiring against you or not, then you're not doing your job. If you don't even know if they're conspiring, you should find that out. Like if they are, well, can you please give me an answer? Because no one really knows, and this is a matter of just a lot of hearsay here and there. Okay, that's my take on the concept of the Freemasonry and all the other conspiracy theories that exist in the Islamic world. There's a lot, by the way. That's just one of them. Freemasonry is just one of them. If you get more deep into the social fabric of the Middle East or of Islamic countries, you'll find there's a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot, based on where you're living and who's kind of making things difficult. You have a theory, and what we end up doing is we use that theory just to, I guess, excuse or justify or rationalize our own laziness and lack of initiative. And I think that's what needs to change. Okay, the question after that, I'm working my way up. So if there's new questions, inshallah, I'll see them and I'll answer them first. After everything is settled after the Day of Judgment, will there be other creatures that are created to be tested after us? I have no idea. Neither does anyone else. No one does. If anyone tells you that they know, then they're lying, because no one knows what's going to happen after the Day of Judgment at all. We don't even know if there are multiple dimensions and there are multiple realms where there are different creatures being put to different tests by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know about it, and it's none of our business. See, this is the point. It's not our purpose. We're not here to find these things out. What we do know today, scientifically, is that there's not enough power or energy on the planet for us to be able to move around the galaxy at the speed of light. Meaning we wouldn't live long enough. Your life is, you don't live long enough. There's not enough time. There hasn't been enough time in the galaxy, in the universe, for us to see the extent of the universe itself. So we're understanding through science slowly that we're very, very small and very, very limited. Even with all the knowledge that we have and all the technologies, it's very limited. And that just tells you more and more about your purpose here. It's just, you're here for a short period of time. This blue and green globe is going to circulate around itself and around the sun for 80 times, and then you're going to be done. 90 times, and that's it, you're out. 100 years from now, not one person here will be alive. Well, some optimism for you, inshallah, but no one's going to be here in 100 years. It's a very short period of time that we're here to do something. Do it, move on to the next to the next phase of this test. What's going to happen after the Day of Judgment? I don't know. No one knows, and anyone who claims to have an answer is just making things up. But could it? If the question is it possible? Then yes, of course it's possible. Everything's possible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala kulli shay'in qadir. يفعل ما يشاء. He will do what He wants, and it's really not for us to butt into that. Okay, move on to the question after. I think there's a new one. Okay, what's the main reason of Al-Khidr killing the kid in Surah Al-Kahf? All right. Okay, so if you study Surah Al-Kahf, you have to know what the point of Surah Al-Kahf is to begin with in order to understand what's happening.
That's my question, by the way.
Sorry?
That's my question.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good for you. No problem. Yeah, no, I'm happy to answer it, inshallah. So,
when Musa went with the Khidr.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're asking for. Now, why that happened? All right. So Surah Al-Kahf is a thematic surah. You're supposed to read it once every week. It's the only surah that has a day. It's the only surah that is attached to a day, where you have to read it on a Friday specifically before Salah, and that's to get the ajr for it. Now why? Because Surah Al-Kahf has a theme where it talks about the elements that are needed in order for you to build a civilization or a society or a community, or a family or individual. You need 4 things. You need the idea, which is the story of Ahl al-Kahf. You need the idea. You have to know what you believe, and you have to have a set of rules and ethics and principles that you need to hold on to, and that's the story of Ahl al-Kahf with a lot of detail. The second element is wealth. You need to have wealth. You have to have possessions. You have to have materialistic power, and that's the story of Ashab al-Jannatain, right? The 2 guys and the 2 orchards. The third story is Musa wal Abd al-Salih, which is commonly known as Al-Khidr, and this is talking about knowledge, right? Which is the third element. And the final story in the surah is Dhul Qarnayn, which talks about power. When all those 3 things come together, when money, wealth, and the ideology is there, then you end up with power, and then you need to use it with justice and with humanity and with mercy. So these are the 4 elements that every society needs in order for it to have to rise up again and to have a say. Now the third element is knowledge, and the story of Musa and Abdul Salih is a very specific one because it talks about knowledge from two perspectives. It looks at knowledge as a holistic experiment. Many people have theory, but they don't have the practice, and many people have the opposite. Musa alayhi salam, when the story of Al-Kahf was revealed, or when the story was told, for him, he had just crossed the Red Sea. He had just crossed the sea with Bani Israel. Fir'aun just died. For the last couple of decades, Musa had only been preaching Judaism, or had only been preaching the word of Allah. He hasn't really practiced it with the society yet, meaning they were oppressed for many, many years by Fir'aun, so they didn't have the ability to actually be a society, openly be a community. So for him, he had the theoretical knowledge. He did not have the practical. He only knew the theory. I mean, he only knew the beautiful principles that what made Islam, or what made the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he had beautiful. He just had the nice ideas. Talk about honesty, talk about trustworthiness, talk about group work and jama'ah and all that stuff. It's nice. It's nice, but we can't really practice it. We learn about it and it sounds nice. What about the practice? What about the practice itself? What about when we actually take this and try to put it to work on the ground? Is it going to be as smooth, or is it going to be a mess? Or is it going to be a lot of glitches and a lot of difficulties, and there's going to be a lot of variations? So Musa, when he was asked, are you the most knowledgeable person? And he is Ulul Azm al-Rusul alayhi salam, and he probably is after the story was done. But at the moment, he said he thought, it wasn't about arrogance, he thought, yeah, I'm probably the most knowledgeable person. I speak to Allah, no one else does, right? But he had something missing. That's why he was told to go meet someone who had more knowledge than he, right? To go meet this person, he has more knowledge than you. So Musa alayhi salam immediately okay, I'll go. Where do I find him? So he told him, Majma' al-Bahrain, the junction of two seas. What is the point of junction of two seas? It's like the symbolism. It's symbolic. Why? It's the junction of both the theory and the practice. What happens? What's going to happen at the junction of two seas? How does he know this is the place? Something dead is going to be given life, right? Which happened. Isn't that what happened with his lunch? He had his fish. It was ready to be in the ship. Fish jumps out of the basket, right into the water, and goes. So, and I guess it's symbolic. When you put together the theory and the practice, life is granted. Life is granted to societies, life is granted to individuals. And that's the symbolism there. And Musa alayhi salam, when he found that and he saw it, this is where he had to wait, he met Abdul Salih. Abdul Salih will take him on a journey. He'll tell him, is it okay if I go and learn from you? He tells him right away, you can come, but you're not going to be able to be patient. You can't make it. وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطُ بِهِ خُبْرًا. How are you going to be patient about something you don't encompass the knowledge of? You don't understand this holistically yet. You're not going to be able to deal with this. You can come and watch, but you're not going to be able to deal with this. So Musa alayhi salam says, okay, I'll come with you. Is there any conditions? He tells him, just don't ask anything until I'm done. I'll explain everything after. Don't ask during the thing itself. So 3 things happen. 3 really weird things to Musa alayhi salam happen. Musa alayhi salam, what they do, they get onto a ship with a guy people who are very poor. All they have is a ship. They're very generous. They let them on for free, right? What do? He bashes the ship. He puts a hole in it. Musa alayhi salam freaks out. What's wrong with you? I thought you were the most knowledgeable and you were better. What are you doing? They just gave us this for free. So he reminds him, I told you, no questions. Like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Then they walk a couple of steps. They see a kid. Oh, nice kid. He kills him. Musa alayhi salam freaks out completely. And of course, he has every right to, because this doesn't make any sense. None of this makes sense, right? I told you not to say anything. All right, last time. They go to a people. They're on a journey. They're starving. They need water. They go to a village. Not one person even offers them food or no drink. Nothing. Just garbage community. Just horrible, horrible people. They see a wall that is falling. Khadr, and he builds the wall for free. And Musa alayhi salam, what's wrong with you? Why is there no logic in anything that you do? Can't you at least ask for money so that we can eat? So he said, that's enough. No more. Now what did Musa see? He saw 3 things. He saw good people being harmed. Good people, good, hardworking, trustworthy, honest individuals being harmed. And he saw a child, the agony of innocence. And then he saw bad people being benefited. Bad people, a wall, destroyed is going to be taken care of, right? And these are things that you and I struggle with. We have the theory of the deen. This is what we're supposed to be like. This is what we're supposed to act. This is what we're supposed to be doing. But then we go to life and we find things different. We find that good people are being harmed. Innocents are suffering, and bad people are getting stronger. How do you understand all of that? You understand the part that Khidr had that Musa alayhi salam didn't have. He didn't understand that bit. Khidr alayhi salam showed it to him. Now Khidr is not a person, by the way. Khidr is not a person like you and I, meaning he's going to be held accountable on the Qiyamah. He is more the symbolism of the Qadr. So he symbolizes the destiny for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creations that do his work, but he's not a person. You can't walk around and say, I drilled a hole, Your Honor, because Allah told me to, because I knew what was going to happen. No, you go to jail immediately. If you kill someone, you're going to be executed for it. Al-Khidr alayhi salam wasn't a person in terms of being exactly who you and I are. He's a symbolism of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hand in the universe. He's a symbolism of things, of what happens in life that you can't control. These are the 3 things. Aren't these the 3 basic questions that we find difficulty in dealing with? When you ask why do bad things happen to good people? Why do innocents suffer, and why do bad people become stronger? Because there's no justice in that. Because you've been taught justice, you've been taught consequences. This is what you've been taught as a Muslim, and then you see this, and it makes no sense to you at all. So how do you understand that? The theory is one thing, the practice is a whole different thing. Going down to the ground and working with people, you're going to see a lot of failures, a lot of setbacks, a lot of things are going to work in the opposite. You're going to teach someone the Quran, teach them the deen, and you're going to act horribly. You're going to harass someone. You're going to say, how does that work? You're a sheikh, you're imam, how could you act like that? But then you find the opposite. How do you understand all these things? How do you understand what lacks logic, or what lacks the rationale of what you've been taught within the theory itself? So Khadr explained it to him. The moment he explained it to him, Musa alayhi salam no longer, he actually felt a bit ashamed of himself. Like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, so the ship was going to be taken by an oppressive king had I not made, because of course he didn't destroy the ship. There was just a hole and it was full of water, and they're probably, these guys are down there, whacking at this thing, trying to fix it, and they're yelling. The last time we do a good thing to a person, look what we did. We take these guys for free, they destroy our ship, never do it again. What happened to people's ethics? A bunch of garbage, and then the king comes and he sends the people to pick up the ship. They find the ship is defected and it's full of water, and they're like, we don't want it anymore. These guys probably didn't even know that because of that, they held on to their only, the only way they made a living. Yes?
So, is this the part where you say he's not a person?
Yeah.
It's like a walking destiny?
Alright. So if you study Al-Khadr, he is the character that has the most myths around him in all of Islamic or Quranic stories. There are so many myths about Al-Khadr, to the point where some people believe he's still alive today, still walking around. There are people who go and celebrate his birthday and they think that he comes and he says, the number of myths that surround this character is insane. And I believe is because no one could really understand who is this person. Is he a saint? Is he a prophet? What is he? Is he an angel? We don't know. But he's definitely and surely not a human being. Why? Because if he was a human being killing a child, Musa alayhi salam would have to, we would have to punish him for that. Because you can't walk around killing children, you can't vandalize people's property, and that makes sense? You can't do it. So this person or this thing or this creation or this Abdul Salih, this servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my understanding of it is that he is the symbol of of qadr, of things that happen that don't make much sense to you, or things that happen that are within life that sometimes defy logic, or defy the rationale, defy the way we think things should happen. Because what you think should happen is that good people should be rewarded, innocents should never be touched with any suffering or agony, and bad people should be punished. And then you see the opposite. Isn't that the story? That's the story. Three things, you see the opposite. And then you understand that there's more to these stories than what meets the eye. I mean, sometimes you don't know why this happened. You don't know why a kid dies. You don't know. Is it good? It's never a good thing. But you never know. When he told him that, look, this kid was going to grow up, going to do things. He was going to physically harm his parents, so his parents were going to be harmed by him physically, and he was going to destroy their legacy. He was going to become a kafir, he was going to oppress other people, meaning their parents were going to hate the fact that they had this child. Does that mean every child who dies is going to become? No, obviously not. But when Musa was given, okay, there's a part of the story you don't know, here's the part of the story, Musa said, okay, that makes sense now. فَأَرَدْنَا أَن يُبْدِلَهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا خَيْرًا مِنْهُ زَكَاةً وَأَقْرَبَ رُحْمًا. And they were going to have another child that was going to be something better for them, and they would find closeness, and they would find purity, and they'll find acceptance. The final story is known that he built a wall. The wall was owned by orphans. These people are horrible. If the wall actually fell down, they found the treasure. Because they're orphans, they would have been ripped off by the people who obviously had no ethics at all. So he put the wall up properly so that when they grew up, they would work again, and then they would find it, but they were old enough to take care of themselves, and they would sustain themselves. When Musa alayhi salam heard these answers, he was totally fine. He was like, okay, now that makes perfect sense. I wish I knew this before. The point is, you can't ever know the full story of anything. You can't know. You're not going to know. Most of the times you're not going to know. There's no way for you to know. Knowing that there's more to the story than what you can see should be enough. As a Muslim, knowing that, I don't know the full story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'lam wa ahkam. I accept what I see, what happened. And I know that there's going to be khair in this one way or another later on. And I continue on. Even if I see good people being harmed, innocents suffering, or bad people getting stronger, I know there's more to the story. And that's the only way you can continue to work as a Muslim without losing your faith. Most faithful people with religion will fall within the first couple of situations they face where that happens. Yes, do you want to say something? Sure, go ahead.
I just have just on the note of good things happening to bad people, right? Say someone is going into poverty, and then they keep making dua for
No, of course not. That just says that they never understood the story to begin with.
I'm not talking about the story. I'm just saying.
No, not this story, like the story of life. They never understood like what the deal was with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to begin with. If you make dua for something continuously, it doesn't mean it's going to happen the way you want it, how you want to do it. Here's another question for you. If they never try and go get a job or work, do they expect to be answered anyway?
But like, what if it's like you're just in like physical pain? Like, what if you're in, what if
Sure.
what if you're ill? And
Sure.
you're just like always going through like physical pain.
Sure.
Then what? And you just keep making dua to get better, but you never get better.
Okay. So what do you think?
Like, what do I think in terms of what?
So what do you think? You think that if they don't get answered the way, based on the fact that they made dua for a certain period of time, that would justify their loss of faith? Is that the question?
Like, I'm just trying to put myself in their
Sure.
position.
Okay, good. No, this is perfect. Yeah.
If I'm like in physical pain and
Sure.
there's a God, there's a creator
Yeah.
out there who is merciful, who
Sure.
is compassionate, and
Sure.
he doesn't, and if he's like, and I'm making dua
Yeah.
to just get better,
Yeah.
and I don't see any benefit
Yeah.
in my sickness,
Yeah.
then like what's
Sure. So that's a very, 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 very common problem. When we understand dua to be something similar to Aladdin's lamp, where at a certain point, if I need something, if I rub this hard enough, I'll get what the genie will come out and I'll get what I want. Then that's the big problem within dua itself. That's not how that's not how you deal with dua at all. Dua is the continuous conversation between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you want something or when you have a plan for something and you express it to Him in words, He knows what you're thinking, and then you get reward based on the fact that you have a plan of what you want to happen. Meaning He sees the clarity within what you want and what you're doing. You're not going to make dua, for example, for bad things. You will not make dua that, Ya Rabb, allow me to commit all these haram things. It's not going to happen. You're only going to ask for good things. When you ask for good things, then actually what you're doing, He's seeing from you your intentions, your thought process, and your plans for khair, and you get rewarded for it. Now when you make dua, one of a couple of things is going to happen. Either He gives you what you want when you want it, He gives you what you want later, He gives you something better, or He holds on to the dua as hasanat, or He forgives sayyi'at with it. He forgives sins with the dua that you made. One of these things are going to happen. So, there's no guarantee that any of it is going to happen the way you want it when you want it. Actually, if we sell dua like that, then we're actually preparing everyone to lose their faith at one point or the other in their lives, because all it's going to take is you make dua for something hard enough, you don't get it, and then you say, well, I made dua, I didn't get it, so I'm going to move on. You don't know. Again, the story of Musa and Khidr come right there. You don't know. Why are you losing your faith? You don't know what was the whole story here. You just saw one thing. You saw that you were in pain, you wanted to go, it didn't go away. That's all you saw. Is there more to the story? Is there something else that you can't see? Is there knowledge that you don't have? Understanding that there's more to the story than you actually have, and that there's knowledge that you don't possess, is fundamental understanding Islam altogether. There's wisdom sometimes in something you can't see. Even if you're like, no, I understand it. There's no wisdom in this whatsoever. No, there's always wisdom in something. You just don't see it yet. You see, Musa alayhi salam freaked out, and then he was told the things, he calmed down. He's like, okay, that makes sense now. But not everyone's going to get an explanation. Not everyone's going to be offered this clear explanation of why this happened or why this is going to happen. Life is a trial. At the end, that's the whole point of it. Every time you're in a trial, you're just going to turn and say, I don't want this anymore, take this away. Then it's no longer a trial. However, that doesn't belittle the importance of continuously making dua. Because when you're making dua, you're continuously connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're talking to Him, you're expressing your desire in His mercy, your understanding of the situation that you are in, and then subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He will deal with it is based on whatever plan He has for you, or whatever is in your best interest, whether you can see it at that moment, or whether you can't see it. Because the moment you start understanding dua differently, and it becomes more of, I'm requesting something, if I request it hard enough, I'll get it, then it's just a ticking time, it's just a timer. It's just time before something happens, doesn't work out, and then the whole the basis of your faith comes falling down.
say that like everything that we go through is beneficial for us then? Like every trial is beneficial?
If you respond to it the right way. So let's say that this happened to someone and they lost their faith. Is it beneficial for them? No, because it would cause them to lose their faith, and now Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to come to God with no faith. They left life, they left earth, they left their, the last thing they did is they just denounced Him altogether. However, had they persevered through it, it would be extremely beneficial. Meaning, Yawm al-Qiyamah, when you come and you find, okay, here's where you would be in Jannah without this trial that you asked to get rid of so many times. And here where you're going to be with the trial after you showed perseverance. And for someone standing on the day of judgment, he's going to take the second choice every time. Because here it's just a matter of, it's a number of years, no matter how little years or how many of them. And Yawm al-Qiyamah is infinity, and it's a whole different ballgame when it comes to the amount of reward that you're being offered and where you're going to be placed at Yawm al-Qiyamah. So when you're put into a trial, if you respond to it the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to respond to it, it's always beneficial for you. And that's why we can't say that something happened to someone, it was a punishment. It's only a punishment if they lose their faith, and if they object to God, and if they no longer follow the deen. Then it's a punishment. Because you choose whether what happens to you is a punishment or a blessing, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, based on your response to it. Now, why it happens, the story of Ahlul Kahf, the one that you asked, is just saying that there's more to every story than what meets the eye. You saw something happen, doesn't look good right now. I'm not saying that you're going to call it a good thing. No, never call it a good thing. The death of a child is never a good thing. But you are understanding that there's more to this story than what you can see, that there's a whole picture that you're missing. You need to know that, and you need to be able to deal with that and live with that. Because there's nothing worse in the life of a person than the death of their child. There's nothing less natural and more painful. And you don't understand it until you speak to a parent who that happened to. Speak to a parent who lost a child, and they'll tell you that the pain of it continues to the grave. Like they'll never stop feeling the pain of losing a child. Well, so how do I deal with this? How do I understand it? Do I turn to God and say, well, why me? I've always been good. What? And then I've lost my faith. I've denounced the whole thing. Understanding that there's more to every story than what I can see. Understanding that there's something I don't know about. I will find out about one day, and continue living my life and continue showing perseverance and continue being good is the whole point. And that's why. And that's the story of Musa al-Khidr, and that's why that happened. But he's not a functioning, held accountable, religiously accountable human being who's walking around killing kids. All right, that's not the story. However, he was a lesson for Musa alayhi salam, because three stories that made no sense, once explained, Musa alayhi salam had no problems anymore with it. And what we take from all three stories is just one conclusion. وَقَدْ أَحَطْنَا بِمَا مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا. You can't be patient, you can't hold on to something that you don't encompass the knowledge fully of. And certain things you can't know the full picture of it all. Understanding that the picture that you're seeing is missing, it's not full, it's not whole, is okay. Will allow you to continue, that there's more to it than I just saw right now. I saw just the pain. There's more to it than that, and you continue with your life. Does that answer your question? Or did you have a different question? Did you have a different thing in your mind regarding the question?
Yeah.
What was it?
I thought like for the first story with Khadr and Musa.
Sure.
Is that it's more about the politics. Like the leader of any Muslim community should know the politics of the region that they live in.
Okay.
Whether the king is good or not, and whether like some people would
sure.
Would have like bad time
okay.
with that king if he's bad.
Sure.
He's gonna take over. So
okay.
it's basically the politics.
Sure.
The second one is like the leader, the sheikh or whatever, the imam, he should know the ibad al-salihin, basically the parents were good.
Yeah.
They should know if their kids are good people too or not. That's my interpretation.
No, the second, definitely not. Kids are kids. You have there's no way for me and you, any point or anyone or any measuring tool or anything in the world to ever be able to look at a child and say, oh, this is going to be a good child or a bad child, ever. You can never hold a child accountable for anything because they're not religiously accountable to begin with. They're not legally or religiously accountable for anything. For punishing them or taking their lives is completely unacceptable. The story, the way I explained it to you, inshallah, is how you're supposed to look at it. You're supposed to look at it as incidents happening that sometimes defy the logic that we're used to. We don't think that bad things should happen to good, hardworking, poor, trustworthy, honest people. We don't think children should be punished or killed or sick. Or we don't think that bad people should be continuously rewarded and get richer and richer. We don't like those things. But you have to know that that's not the whole picture. That there's more to this picture than you can see. Understanding that is what Musa alayhi salam learned from Khadr. And he went back with that fresh mentality. Okay. Because he's going to run into a lot of stuff with Bani Israel. In the second phase of life with Bani Israel, it's going to be very crazy. A lot of things are going to happen that will defy logic for Musa alayhi salam. Had he not gone through this with Khadr, he probably would have found it very difficult to deal with all these very very different, very difficult, and sometimes hard to understand things that happened with him. But for a Muslim, we always know that there's more to this than the eye can see. There's a bigger picture, the whole picture. I don't have the whole picture. I have a missing understanding of it. Alhamdulillah. I show perseverance and I continue. And then I'll